Chosen One, I require you to suspend all activities and focus solely on the information I am about to convey, as it occurred exactly 72 hours ago and you were unaware of it. You were so mentally drained, overwhelmed, and exhausted that you failed to recognize it as a test. However, it was. It was the final assessment, the final exam. The final assessment determines whether a soul is ready to assume genuine spiritual authority, or if they must return to the preparation stage. The following is what you should be aware of. You received a passing grade. Not barely passed. Is not passed with a slim margin. You demonstrated such undeniable character transformation that the spiritual realm felt compelled to immediately convene the Council of Elevation, as described in ancient texts. You passed with distinction. Additionally, at exactly 3:33 a.m. tonight, an event will take place in dimensions that the naked eye cannot see, but the soul can feel. Heaven will officially commission you, not symbolically or metaphorically, but literally, in the unseen realms where spiritual authority is given. You will be granted permission to operate at a level at which you have been training for your entire life without your knowledge. Please do not assume that this will suddenly simplify your life, or that promotion will lead to a smooth transition. The upcoming events tonight are not intended to reward good behavior. It acknowledges that you can now be trusted with a higher level of responsibility. And increased responsibility always results in a greater challenge. However, there is a difference. Following tonight, you will face those challenges with the help of spiritual resources that were previously unavailable to you. Instant access to knowledge. Automatic discernment. Unwavering tranquility. Authority that does not need to make an announcement. Heaven commissions someone, which is exactly what happens. Capacity rather than comfort. Empowerment, not simplification. Not relaxation, but instead readiness. I will inform you of the test that was given 3 days ago, as it is critical that you understand the material that you successfully completed. Something occurred around 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. That caused you to go over your limit. It's possible that the conversation was completely misguided. It's possible that the situation reactivated all of the old wounds you thought were healed. Perhaps you were so overwhelmed by loneliness that you couldn't stop crying. You maintained a state of numb silence. Perhaps it was an act of betrayal so shocking that your mind couldn't process it. It's possible that you were so exhausted that you couldn't think, and instead reacted instinctively. Whatever it was for you, it sent you into a state of automaticity. You were unable to perform because of exhaustion. I am too damaged to maintain a facade. The appropriate response cannot be determined due to a lack of resources. You were simply existing. You lacked the energy to be anything but your most authentic self. And at that moment, no one was present. If you had made a different choice, no one would have known. When you had every reason to be bitter, in retribution, with regard to selfishness, with cruelty, by way of compromise, you didn't. When you were exhausted and unable to control your emotions, your innermost being responded immediately with integrity. Someone may have verbally assaulted you, and your instinct was not to fight back, but rather to remain silent. It's possible that you had access to information that could have benefited you at the expense of another person, but were unable to capitalize on it. It is possible that you were given the opportunity to reveal the identity of the person who harmed you, but you declined. Perhaps you were faced with a choice between your own comfort and the well-being of another person, and without hesitation, chose their welfare. It's possible that you faced temptation alone and no one would have known. However, you continued to leave. The specific circumstance is irrelevant. What matters is this. You no longer have to demonstrate your goodness. It is part of your identity. Your integrity is no longer a conscious choice you make whenever you have the energy. It serves as the default configuration. Your automatic operating system and the one you've chosen. That is the truth that heaven had anticipated, and it is revealed here. They do not instruct you in religious settings. Your theology has no relevance to the spiritual realm. It makes no difference how many scriptures you have memorized. It makes no difference how many spiritual books you've read or how long you've spent in prayer or meditation. It is preoccupied with this singular question. Who are you when you don't have the energy to be anything but your authentic self? What is your identity when your masks start to fall off due to fatigue and inability to keep them on? Who are you if no one is present and no one will ever know what you decided? That is the only relevant question because it determines whether your transformation is genuine or fabricated. And 3 days ago, in that state of complete exhaustion, you answered that question. The answer was so unmistakable, clear, and confirmed that the observation deck in the spiritual realm, where assigned angels monitor human development, erupted. Applause is not appropriate because it is a human emotion. Instead, it is a form of recognition. The type of recognition that occurs when a person discovers their true identity. When potential is realized. When preparation turns into readiness. When training turns into mastery. Allow me to elaborate on the significance of 333 this morning. First and foremost, it is critical to understand that time works differently in the spiritual realm than it does in physical reality. However, there are times when the line between dimensions becomes more blurred, allowing spiritual activity to more easily penetrate physical reality and downloads to occur with less interference. One of those moments occurred at 3:33 a.m. This is the reason. Between 3 and 4 a.m., human consciousness reaches its lowest point of activity. The majority of people are currently having their most profound sleep. The spiritual environment lacks the usual collective mental chatter. In that stillness, in that silence, the spiritual realm can function precisely. However, the number 333 is especially important. The number 3 represents divine completeness in sacred mathematics, which is not superstition, but the recognition of patterns across all wisdom traditions. Father, Son, Spirit, birth, life, death, beginning, middle, end, past, present, future, mind, body, and soul. It is the number of completions. When it is tripled, 333, it indicates completion upon completion upon completion, the end of a cycle, the graduation of a phase, and the clearance of a level. This is why significant spiritual transitions throughout history have frequently included a variation of the number 3. 3 days were spent in Jesus' tomb. Jonah spent 3 days inside the whale. 3 days before Passover, the Israelites set out on their journey. It's a pattern. In addition, your pattern will be finalized at 3:33 p.m. tonight. This is the actual outcome. Ancient texts describe the court of heaven as the location where your soul will be brought before it, while your conscious mind is asleep. Your body will remain in your bed, but your soul will be transported to a dimensional, spiritual space where spiritual authority is granted, and you will be given 3 specific authorizations. These are not permissions that can be used in any manner. These are spiritual abilities activated by your character, which is why you had to pass the initial test. The universe does not give weapons to people who may misuse them. It only grants authority to those who have demonstrated a willingness to refrain from abusing it. This is the ability to understand situations, people, and circumstances at a level that does not require intellectual analysis. You will start to acquire knowledge that is not logically derived. You will be able to understand the underlying dynamics of conversations. You will be able to recognize when something is wrong before you can articulate the cause. You will understand others' genuine intentions, even if they do not disclose them. This isn't a psychic ability. This is discernment that has been sharpened to the point where your spirit perceives spiritual activity in the same way that your eyes see physical activity. It will appear so natural that you will not realize it is supernatural. You will simply be aware of certain things, and you will later wonder how you knew them when you are proven correct. This is how you will know that this authorization is active. 2. Authorization. Unwavering tranquility. This isn't happiness. Circumstances determine happiness. This is a state of tranquility that lasts regardless of the circumstances. You will navigate storms while remaining calm. You will be attacked, but remain composed. You will experience both disorder and a sense of equilibrium. Not because you are immune to external influences, but because you are deeply rooted in a foundation that is independent of circumstance. It will be noticed by others. They will ask how you keep your cool, and you will be unable to respond satisfactorily because the peace you have is not the result of any technique or practice that you can teach. It evolves from your personality over time. It is the result of having seen a lot of fire, which has made you resistant to heat. 3. Authorization. Spiritual authority. This is the most difficult to express because it does not involve the manipulation of anyone or anything. It's about how much weight your presence carries. When you speak, people pay attention. Others respect the act of remaining silent. When a boundary is established, it is in effect until a decision is reached. Things are in harmony. Not because you are applying pressure, but because you have established yourself as a figure who can be trusted to wield that level of power. In the wrong hands, this authorization is dangerous. However, in the right hands, which have been purified through suffering and tested, it becomes a tool for blessing rather than control, liberation rather than manipulation, elevation rather than dominance. As a result, the universe conducts tests on individuals before granting them this authority. There is no instruction manual included with these 3 authorizations. A user guide is not included. They will activate tomorrow morning, and you will be able to identify their activity by looking for 3 specific signs. Sign 1 demonstrates almost eerie mental clarity. When you wake up, your mind will be more alert than it has been in years, if not ever. Confusion that has obscured your decisions, fog that has clouded your thoughts, and overwhelm that has made everything seem complicated. It will vanish rather than be diminished. In its place, profound clarity will allow you to navigate situations that previously took weeks to resolve. You will understand the concept within minutes. Not because you suddenly have all of the answers, but because you can suddenly discern what is important and what is not. You will be able to confidently make decisions that were previously paralyzing. And what is significant becomes clear. If you are reading this and notice that a change occurred 3 days ago but are unable to identify the specifics, please do me a favor and enter 777 in the comments section. This is not a superstitious or lucky gesture, but rather a spiritual symbol. When chosen ones recognize each other and witness each other's transitions, their frequency amplification has an impact on the spiritual realm. Your 777 is reserved exclusively for you. This is for anyone who needs confirmation that they are not insane, that a real change has occurred, and that their perception of change is correct. 2 signatures are required. emotional balance that surprises you. You will notice that the things that once triggered you no longer do. Individuals who once drained you are no longer able to do so. You now find that previously overwhelming situations are manageable. This is not because you are suppressing your emotions. It is not a result of your gradual numbing. It is the result of rebalancing your emotional center. You have faced numerous challenges that have required the development of emotional fortitude. However, the majority of people never build anything. It is possible to feel strong emotions without being affected by them. It is possible to be compassionate without being consumed. It is possible to love while maintaining one's identity. Additionally, the public will observe this stability. It will be tested in practice. They will unconsciously try to elicit the old response from you. And when you don't give it to them, when you respond calmly in a situation where you previously responded agitatedly, they'll be perplexed. There will be individuals who follow it. It will be a danger to others. This will allow you to determine which individuals are appropriate to include in your next chapter and which are not. Signage number 3. Synchronicities that are too accurate to be coincidental. You will notice that life is synchronizing in your favor in ways that are beyond explanation tomorrow, or perhaps the day after. You will require something, and it will appear. A person will come to mind and contact you. You will have a question, and the answer will come in the most unexpected way. You will encounter an impediment, and the exact resource you require will be provided. This is not a manifestation. This is not an example of the law of attraction. When you reach a spiritual level, the universe begins to orchestrate reality around you in new ways because you can now be trusted with that level of support. In the past, the universe was unable to provide you with a large number of material possessions because you were not prepared to manage them effectively while your character was being tested. However, you have now demonstrated that you will not take advantage of the blessing. You will not worship provision. You will not exploit favor in order to allow the floodgates to open without destroying you. I must now warn you about a subtle threat that has the potential to undermine everything you've recently accomplished. It's deceptive. Most people do not notice its subtle infiltration until it has already eroded their spiritual pride. When you wake up tomorrow with mental clarity, emotional stability, and perfect synchronicity, you will encounter a temptation, a whisper, or a thought. The thought will sound like this: I've finally arrived. I am superior to those who are still facing difficulties. I have a unique quality. I've been selected. I am exempt from the turmoil that ordinary people face. If you continue to believe this, cultivate this arrogance, and allow it to take root in your mind, you will lose everything you've recently gained. Gradually, rather than immediately. That mental clarity is about to fade. That emotional balance is about to crumble. Those synchronicities will cease, as the universe only gives power to those who remain humble. The moment you begin to look down on others from your elevated position, you begin your descent. As a result, the following is the course of action to take if that thought occurs, which it will. You recall. You recall 3 years ago when you were the one going through difficulties. You recall the time 5 years ago when you were the one who got lost. During that time, you remember feeling shattered and frantic, unsure how you would get through. You recall each person who showed you kindness, even when you were undeserving. Each person who remained patient with you during your difficult times. Everyone who believed in you even when you had no reason to believe in yourself. You allow that memory to keep you humble. Not a false humility in which one pretends to be powerless, but a genuine humility in which one acknowledges that their power was obtained at a cost, and that cost inspires compassion, rather than contempt for those who are still paying the price. The crown you will receive tonight is not a trophy. It functions as a device. It does not imply that you are superior to all others. It acknowledges that you are capable of taking on additional responsibilities. Humility is always necessary for responsibility. The moment you believe your crown gives you superiority, you demonstrate that you were unprepared for it. So, wear it with gratitude. Wear it with awareness. Wear it with the understanding that those who receive much are expected to give back. Your advancement is not driven by vanity. Your assignment requires your promotion. Your role is to be a guiding light in dark places, a source of calm in chaotic places, and a steadfast presence in the midst of turmoil. I'll now inform you of the person who has the authority to remove your crown after you receive it tonight. It's not divine. God's actions are not determined by his moods or errors. It's not the devil. There is no authority over what heaven grants to the devil. Circumstances are not the cause. External circumstances cannot eliminate internal authority. You are the only person capable of removing your crown. The only way to accomplish this is to deliberately, consciously, and knowingly compromise your integrity for personal gain, even if you are fully aware of the consequences. This is not an accident, a temporary weakness, or a failure to achieve perfection. It is a deliberate betrayal of one's own character. You've decided to use your spiritual authority to manipulate others, your discernment to control them, and your peace as a weapon to make others feel inadequate. When you weaponize your blessings, when you abuse the gifts you've been given, when you turn tools meant for construction into weapons meant for destruction, you lose your crown, not as punishment, but as protection. Because an individual with spiritual authority who is corrupted is more dangerous than an individual without authority. This is why the examination was so rigorous. This is why you were required to pass the Level 3 evaluation. The one in which your character is tested when you are too exhausted to finish it. 3 days ago, you showed the universe that your default setting remains intact, even in your most vulnerable, weakest, and worst-case scenarios. As a result, when you receive these authorizations tonight, you can be confident that they are secure in your possession. Heaven knows you won't mistreat them. Heaven knows your default response will be character-driven, regardless of whether you are tired, depleted, or overwhelmed. However, it is critical that you understand the following about how to care for your crown after you purchase it. It is not about being flawless. You will continue to make errors. You are still going to have bad days. You will continue to have occasional failures. This is indicative of human nature. It is critical to understand your trajectory. Do you intend to increase or decrease your level of integrity? Is it more appropriate to show humility or pride? Increased service or increased selfishness? Your crown will be secure as long as you are committed to growth. Recognize when you fall short and correct course, and keep your trajectory upward. It is not prone to damage. It does not shatter after the initial error. However, it responds to intentional, persistent character betrayal. Therefore, safeguard it. Not with perfection, but with commitment. With faithfulness instead of flawlessness. I will now reveal the more profound reason for your appointment at this precise moment in history. It's not arbitrary. It isn't just because you've completed your personal journey. Because the world is going through an unprecedented amount of upheaval, it is critical that people who can maintain a sense of stability are present. Older systems are collapsing. The institutions in which people had faith are being exposed. The authorities on which individuals relied are being investigated. In the midst of this chaos, people will be desperately looking for a solid foundation to cling to. Not information. Not theories. Not a guarantee. However, there is tangible evidence that it is possible to maintain self-respect while making other compromises. Living proof that it is possible to remain calm in the midst of widespread anxiety. Living evidence that it is possible to love in the face of hatred. You are living proof of this. It's not because you know all the answers. Not because you never face difficulties. It isn't because you're perfect. However, your life demonstrates that transformation is genuine. It is possible to forge that character. That optimism can withstand the depths of hell. They will want to know your secret after witnessing your peace in the midst of their chaos and your stability in the midst of their storm. Furthermore, your confidentiality cannot be articulated in words. One of your secrets stems from your exposure to fire. Furthermore, the only way to teach it is to experience it firsthand. That is your responsibility as the chosen person who has been commissioned. Not to save every individual. Not to resolve all issues. Not to have responses to all inquiries. However, to demonstrate that it is possible to navigate darkness and emerge with clarity. That is enough. That is completely sufficient. Therefore, at 3:33 p.m. tonight, when your soul is presented to the court of heaven and those 3 authorizations are granted, accept them with an open heart and humility. When you wake up tomorrow and feel the transformation, when you notice the synchronicity, peace, and clarity, remember that these are tools, not awards. Use them to bestow blessings. Use them to construct. Use them to show affection. Examine the universe's reaction to someone who possesses power but uses it with humility. At that point, miracles are the norm. At this point, the provision becomes consistent. This is when doors you were previously unaware of open. Your examination has ended. Your crown is ready. Your commission begins tonight. Gently navigate it. Serve with authority. In the absence of light, radiate it. Because that is how the chosen behave. It is not because they are superior to others, but rather because they are reliable when the majority of people fail. You are that dependable person, and tonight, heaven confirms it. If you are aware that something changed within you 3 days ago, or if you believe that a test was successfully completed despite your lack of knowledge about the test, please enter 777 in the comments section right now. It's not a mystical number. It functions as an indicator. A spiritual compass. A confirmation from heaven that you received this message at the exact time. In addition, the presence of your 777 confirms the experiences of other selected individuals. This is how we identify one another not by what we say, but by the experiences we've had and the people we've become as a result. If this message has struck a chord with you and you don't want to miss the next installment, please subscribe and enable notifications. Because the events that are about to unfold in your life as a newly appointed chosen one will require guidance, confirmation, and encouragement. That is why this channel exists. To assist people like you in understanding the spiritual dynamics of their experiences, preventing them from becoming delusional and walking alone. Just one more thing. If you were listening to the message and thought of someone who is currently going through their own final test, who is exhausted, broken, and operating on autopilot, please forward this message to them. They require assurance that their suffering is not arbitrary. They may be closer to passing than they realize, given that it is the final exam. Your contribution may provide them with the assurance they need to get through another day. And that extra day could be all that's needed to establish their character and activate their own commissioning. Chosen one. Your loneliness was caused by an evaluation, not abandonment. Your exhaustion was not punishment, but rather a form of preparation. Your breaking resulted in transformation rather than destruction. And tonight, at 3:33, heaven confirms what you've already demonstrated. You're prepared. I extend a hearty welcome to your coronation. However, before we conclude, I must tell you about the practical changes you will notice in your daily life. Spiritual commissioning affects not only your inner world, but also your physical movements. Modify 1. People will react differently to you. Certain people will be drawn to you for reasons they do not understand. They will seek your guidance, desire to be in your company, and experience a sense of security in your presence. These are people whose spirits recognize the authority you now wield. Others, however, will be repelled by you for unknown reasons. They will avoid you, feel uneasy, and find reasons not to engage. These are people whose dysfunction conflicts with your peace. The attraction and the repulsion are both reactions. They are confirmation that your frequency has also changed. Your capacity to tolerate specific environments will diminish. Locations that you previously tolerated will immediately deplete your energy. You will experience a toxic atmosphere in conversations that you previously engaged in. Your spiritual sensitivity has been enhanced, and low-frequency environments will drain you. Therefore, whenever you experience an unpleasant environment, it is advisable to depart. If a conversation becomes toxic, it is suggested that you leave. You are not being impolite. You are abiding by your discernment. Substitute 3. Your relationship with time is about to undergo a transformation. You will experience a sense of urgency, not anxiety, but rather a recognition that time is a valuable resource. Activities that previously consumed hours will appear senseless. The allure of distractions that previously consumed you will diminish. Your purpose is being activated at a deeper level, and each moment spent on activities that are not in alignment feels like time that has been stolen. Substitute 4. Your relationship with the divine is about to undergo a significant transformation. It will cease to be perceived as an action and will instead be perceived as an aspect of your identity. You will be in perpetual communion. The line is perpetually accessible. The connection is perpetually operational. Tuning in is effortless once you establish a connection. Change 5. The movement of your finances and resources will be alternative. Provision will manifest in unexpected manners. You will observe that you consistently possess precisely the items you require at precisely the appropriate time. This is a manifestation of divine favor. Frequently, the universe offers all the necessities in ways that circumvent conventional systems. I would now like to address a critical question. What if I do not experience those symptoms tomorrow? Does this imply that I failed? Here is what you need to understand. Divine timing governs the spiritual realm, as opposed to human anticipation. The signs might unfold gradually, appear subtly, or hit you all at once. It is important to remain vigilant in order to identify them when they appear, as spiritual promotion occasionally results in increased resistance. The enemy launches an immediate attack in an attempt to convince you to relinquish the possession you have recently acquired. So if tomorrow is harder, don't interpret that as evidence that nothing changed. Interpret it as evidence that something major changed. Let me also tell you what not to do. Don't announce your commission. Don't post about it on social media. The spiritual realm values secrecy during initial phases of empowerment. Hold this close. Share it only with people who would understand. Let the transformation speak through your life before you speak about it. Also, don't try to force the authorizations to activate. They work naturally when needed, not artificially when forced. Trust that when wisdom is needed, it will be there. When peace is threatened, it will hold. Let it happen organically. And finally, remember this. Being commissioned doesn't mean you never struggle again. What it means is that you now have access to resources that help you handle struggles differently. You still face battles, but with weapons you didn't have before. You still walk through valleys, but with guidance you didn't have before. The difference is not the absence of difficulty. The difference is the presence of empowerment. If this message confirms something you felt but could T-name, type 777 in the comments as a declaration that you recognize your testing season is complete and your commissioning has begun. Let your 777 witness to others that transformation is real, that tests do end, that promotion does come. And if this message brought clarity, hope, or confirmation, hit that like button. Engagement helps this reach others who are in the middle of their final test, exhausted and broken, needing to know they can endure one more day. Your like could help this message find them at their exact moment of need. Make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. What happens after tonight? You are going to need ongoing guidance and confirmation. This channel exists for that purpose. To help you navigate walking in spiritual authority so you don't feel crazy and you don't walk alone. Chosen one, your loneliness wasn't abandonment. It was an assessment. Your exhaustion wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Your breaking wasn't destruction. It was a transformation. And tonight at 3:33, heaven confirms what you already proved. You're prepared. I extend a hearty welcome to your coronation.
I extend a warm welcome to all who have been selected. You have returned to us once more, guided by the light. I'm carrying a message that is both urgent and sacred today, and it's not for everyone. This video will make you uncomfortable if your heart is not in tune with truth, obedience, and spiritual discipline, or if you are not on the divine path. If you are a genuine follower or one of the chosen, you may feel restless and challenged. However, it is critical to recognize that this message arrived at the exact moment that heaven intended, not a day early or late, but right on time. God has issued a severe warning for 2026. Certain aspects of your life, calling, plans, and spiritual experiences should never be revealed casually. Not even to people who claim to love you deeply, not to family members who think they know you best, or to friends who seem to be supportive. Premature disclosure of information may result in its delay, distortion, or destruction. Words are the medium by which the spiritual realm responds, and not all spirits send their best wishes. I require your continued presence until the end, as the information I am about to reveal has the potential to save years of your life. Many chosen ones have fallen, not because they were weak, but because they spoke when God instructed them to be silent. The enemy used their own words against them. They celebrated their calling before it took shape, and they shared their vision before it was established. Before we begin, if this video has already resonated deeply within your spirit, please take a moment to like it. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. Tap the bell to ensure that you never miss a message intended for you, and comment 777 below to declare that you are in alignment with divine timing and ready to walk wisely into 2026. Bao. That number is not arbitrary. It represents a spiritual indicator. Let it be your declaration for the day. First and foremost, I'd like to address your emotional state. If you've ever wondered why your life has been more difficult than others, why you've never quite fit in, or why your path appears delayed or misunderstood, this is why God has always worked in this way. He does not choose the voice that is the loudest in the room. He doesn't choose the most celebrated talent or the most proud heart. He chooses those who are disregarded by the rest of the world. He chooses those created in silence and refined in obscurity. Examine the consistent pattern found in the Bible. Moses lacked assurance. He asked about God on several occasions. He saw himself as inadequately prepared to carry out the divine assignment. Despite his immense power, Elijah experienced profound exhaustion and moments of despair. When the prophet came in search of a king, David was not even invited to the table. While his brothers were the focus of attention, his father ignored him. That's not an accident. That's a divine strategy. God keeps his most important instruments hidden in plain sight until the right time. And you, chosen one, were concealed for a reason. Not because you were overlooked, but because God was protecting the foundation that he was laying within you. God chooses unlikely vessels because pride is incapable of enduring the process he requires. You would rely on yourself if everything was simple and success came without effort. However, God required you to put your complete trust in him. He required you to be aware of the sensation of brokenness in order to recognize genuine healing. He required you to face rejection in order to develop genuine compassion. Banda. He required you to traverse valleys so that you would never forget the person who helped you. You were not punished. Instead, you were molded. Every difficult season had a purpose. Closed doors provided protection. Each delay could be traced back to preparation. Nothing was wasted. Self-doubt is a common issue among many chosen individuals. And if this is the case, please hear me clearly. That uncertainty does not indicate vulnerability. It demonstrates that your heart remains open to learning. Arrogant people believe they are well prepared. Those who feel proud believe they have arrived. However, the chosen ones understand that they have not. This is precisely why God can believe in them. You doubt your own abilities because you are afraid of misrepresenting God. The fear is sacred. Being overlooked did not imply you were unqualified. It indicated that you were being protected. God refrained from exposing you prematurely because exposure without preparation has the potential to devastate people. While others were promoted, you were protected. You received your training in a private setting, whereas others were honored in public. You are beginning to understand why. Chosen individuals are frequently misunderstood because of their ability to notice details that others miss. You have consistently felt emotions that others have disregarded. While others perceived randomness, you saw patterns. You recognized the underlying intentions behind the superficial language. In places where others were at ease, you felt spiritually oppressed. When you were younger, this awareness felt like a burden. However, it is a gift. God gave you spiritual sensitivity at a young age, anticipating that you would need it in the future. That sensitivity is why crowds sap your energy, noise exhausts you, and brief conversations feel burdensome. You're not antisocial. You have a high level of discernment. Your spirit filters far exceed what the majority of people can tolerate. And God was aware of it. This is why he instructed you in solitude. Being chosen does not imply that one is perfect. Moses fought against his rage. Elijah faced his apprehension. David made errors. God did not withdraw his call due to their humanity. I worked through it thoroughly. The calling is not prone to damage. It is founded on grace. You may have felt a distinct sensation since childhood. It's possible that you inquired about topics that others didn't find relevant. It's possible that you've had an attraction to spiritual subjects without knowing why. That attraction was not based on imagination. That was an acknowledgement. Your spirit was determining its origin before your mind could offer an explanation. Throughout their childhood, many chosen individuals feel excluded, even within their own families. They are not unloved, rather they are wired differently. Your values do not align with those of the majority. Your tolerance for injustice has diminished. Your desire for the truth is stronger. God placed you there to observe and learn, not assimilate. The chosen individuals are not raised to be seamlessly integrated into the existing systems. They face these systems as they grow up. This is why your primary instructor was never comfortable. You were pressured into following instructions. Silence instructed you. You learned through the process of waiting. God permitted lessons. Your role was not assigned to others, so they were not required to learn. During certain seasons, you felt abandoned. Periods when prayers appeared to go unanswered. Moments when you wondered if God had overlooked you. He refrained from doing so. While others learned to perform, he developed depth. You developed the ability to persevere. Additionally, endurance is extremely uncommon. Your challenging background did not disqualify you. It qualified you. You were not impeded by your difficulties. It was they who prepared you. You were not weakened by your isolation. You grew more acute. God was present. He acted with deliberate intent. You were never behind. You were aligned. I'd like to now explain the absolute necessity of silence in order to protect the growth that God is fostering within you. The enemy is not primarily concerned with what you already know. He is concerned about who you will become. He is concerned about the extent of your abilities. He is concerned about your complete commitment to your calling. One of the most efficient and effective ways to sabotage one's future is to announce it before the appropriate time. Every word you say about your vision, assignment, spiritual progress, and plans sends energy into the spiritual realm. Words are important. Words set the tone for the atmosphere. Words can open doors. Additionally, the majority of people are unaware of this fact. Not all spirits that listen are friendly. Your success is not supported by everyone who hears you. It endangers some people. There will be some who oppose it. Even if they smile at you, some people will actively oppose it. When you share too much too soon, you risk exposing your seed before it has developed strong roots. Consider a seed that has been planted in the soil. It is susceptible in its early stages. It requires safeguarding. It requires darkness. Before it can ascend to the surface, it needs to establish itself underground. Excavating the object prematurely for public display is detrimental to its preservation. You have disrupted the process. Spiritually speaking, the same is true. It will be judged by those who lack the spiritual maturity to understand God's work in you. They will criticize it. They will apply their limited perspective to your limitless calling. Individuals who perceive your expansion as a threat will resist it, sometimes without realizing why. They will express their uncertainty. They will emphasize potential hazards. They will serve as a reminder of your previous shortcomings. Even those who genuinely care about you may unintentionally speak against God's progress because they are unable to see what He does. Your faith is hampered by their limitations. Their anxiety interferes with your ability to concentrate. This is not about keeping secrets for the sake of it. This isn't about isolating yourself or becoming paranoid. This discussion focuses on strategic thinking. Silence protects what is still in the process of development. Silence protects what is not yet strong enough to face public scrutiny. Silence protects your assignment from premature opposition. Joseph is the quintessential biblical example of this principle. He erred by revealing his ambition to his brothers. His vision was realistic. His fate was unquestionable. However, his timing was completely off. He disclosed it before he was ready. He distributed it to those who were unprepared. And what happened? He was sold into slavery by his brothers. They were unable to manage his future. They were unable to honor his calling. His words were used as a tool for his downfall. Years of hardship ensued after the premature revelation. Joseph was imprisoned, abandoned, and falsely accused. He could have avoided all of this by simply waiting for the right moment. Nonetheless, God stood firm in the face of that traumatic experience. God used what the enemy intended for evil. However, the procedure was far more difficult than it needed to be. Occasionally, God gives you a vision that is not intended for public announcement, but rather to provide you with a sense of security during the difficult journey ahead. The goal of that dream, calling, and promise is to strengthen you in the face of external circumstances that seem to contradict everything He has told you. Its goal is to keep you grounded in the face of misunderstandings about your decisions. It is intended to help you keep your faith in the face of adversity, even when logic suggests giving up. It is fuel for your personal endurance, not content for your public platform. Wow. God occasionally gives you a vision that is not meant for public announcement, but rather to provide you with a sense of security during a difficult process. The purpose of that dream, calling, and promise is to strengthen you in the face of apparent opposition. It is designed to give you a sense of stability in the face of adversity. It is not social media content, but spiritual fuel. By refraining from discussing God's actions, you avoid unnecessary spiritual conflict. Your talent is developed without external interference. Your character develops free of the constraints of reputation management and performance. Your assignment proceeds without any unnecessary resistance from people who were never meant to understand it at this point. Silence is not an indicator of weakness. Silence contains the essence of wisdom. Silence is a powerful force. Currently, there are events in your spiritual life that others would misinterpret if you revealed them publicly. Religious people may struggle to accept unusual encounters with God. Externally, these transitions appear reckless or foolish. Convictions that appear radical to those who remain comfortable with traditional norms and practices. God's instructions are not yet logically coherent. Not everyone has the spiritual maturity or discernment required to respect God's work in their lives during these seasons. Take great care to protect it. It is intentionally safeguarded. Cover it until it is able to stand alone. It is my intention to pause at this point and say the following. If you are currently experiencing a profound resonance with this truth in your spirit and believe that this message is directly addressing a problem with which you have been struggling, please take a moment to share this video with another selected individual who needs it. I just remembered someone. Distribute it to them. Furthermore, if you have not yet left a comment, please do so by typing the number 777 into the space provided below. Let that be a marker for this moment. Occasionally, the discipline required for progress is strengthened by publicly revealing a private truth. Your comment may also serve as an inspiration to another person who is quietly observing and needs confirmation that they are not alone in this endeavor. I will give you 3 unmistakable, clear indications that you are a member of this lineage and are carrying this calling. Neither of these descriptions are vague. These are specific markers that you can identify in your own journey. The first indicator is that you have experienced extended periods of seemingly pointless waiting, not just brief delays or minor setbacks, but unbearable waiting. The act of waiting was completely illogical. The wait that tested your sanity and faith. A period of waiting that caused you to wonder if God had forgotten about you, if you had misunderstood his promises, or if you were never meant for the role you thought you were given. However, it is critical that you understand the following. The delay was not caused by your misconduct. The waiting was a prelude to the assignment to which you had been summoned. Moses endured a 40-year wait in the wilderness, where he was in charge of sheep care before embarking on his actual mission. For many people, 40 years is roughly half a lifetime. David was anointed king as a boy, but he did not wear the crown until he reached adulthood. Years have passed. Battles were fought. Betrayals occurred. He fled in fear for his life. He sought refuge in caves while carrying the promise of kingship. God intentionally extends time in order to develop your capacity. He discusses the process of waiting in order to develop the strength that will be sorely needed in the future. If you can bear the weight of the wait, you can handle the weight of what comes next. The wait is not wasted. Wait is beneficial to you, not detrimental. The second indicator is an unusual level of spiritual sensitivity, which appears to be lacking in those around you. Sensations arise before events occur. Before any words are spoken, you can notice changes in the atmosphere of a room. Individuals' underlying motivations can be ascertained through language. Even if it appears to be in perfect condition, you notice when something is wrong. You can detect spiritual environments that others go through without noticing. It can be overwhelming, especially for young people who have yet to develop the ability to manage their sensitivity. It may appear to be a curse. You absorb the emotions of an entire room of people. After spending time in large groups, you feel exhausted. You require time to recover from social interactions. You have consistently acted in this manner, and you most likely believed that there was a problem with your character. However, it is a gift. God gave you spiritual discernment, sensitivity, and spiritual radar to help you navigate the challenges ahead. The responsibilities you will be given will require you to be able to identify what others miss, detect what others ignore, and determine what others overlook. You do not have a paranoid personality. You are not being overly contemplative. You aren't overly sensitive. You have a keen sense of observation. You are using your discretion in matters of trust. That inner knowing has already saved you more times than you realize. It has kept you from having harmful relationships, making bad decisions, or being in dangerous situations. It is critical that you respect, nurture, and manage it responsibly. The third indicator is an increased preference for alignment over approval. There was a time when you were extremely concerned with the opinions of others. You bent yourself in an attempt to meet expectations that were never meant for you. You performed so that others would be satisfied. To gain acceptance, you altered your personality. To avoid making others uncomfortable, you dimmed your light. When you meant to say no, you said yes. Despite your desire to cry, you kept your smile. You continued to engage in relationships and environments that were no longer beneficial to your personal development because you were afraid of disappointing others. However, something has recently changed within you. It is palpable. The alteration is unquestionable. Currently, you'd rather lose the crowd than lose yourself. You'd rather be misunderstood by a large number of people than be dishonest with anyone. You would rather walk alone in truth than with a group in compromise. You are no longer willing to give up your beliefs in exchange for temporary comfort. You no longer keep your silence in order to keep others comfortable. You are not becoming cold, harsh, or uncaring as a result of the change. That change indicates spiritual maturity. It implies that you are no longer willing to compromise your integrity for temporary acceptance. It implies that you place far more value on God's approval than on human praise. That level of internal fortitude is extremely rare in today's world. Such conviction is a clear indication of readiness for what God is preparing. You are not imagining this calling if these 3 signs describe your journey and you identify with this description. You are not developing an identity from scratch. You do not assign significance to arbitrary circumstances. You're responding to a genuine activation. This lineage does not make itself known through the use of loud trumpets and bright lights. It is quietly revealed in the form of fruit, peace that defies circumstances, discernment that sees truth, and alignment that prioritizes obedience over convenience. You are not assuming the identity of another person. You are finally achieving the identity you were meant to have. This is just the beginning. I will now give you some practical advice to help you navigate this path with confidence and avoid burnout. This calling is rigorous, but it is not intended to kill you. God never intended that your assignment would lead to the loss of your identity, health, or peace. Many strong spirits become exhausted not by committing evil, but by acting without discernment. They become exhausted from accepting responsibilities that God did not assign to them, as well as from saying yes when God told us to stop hustling and rest. The following needs to be stated explicitly. Hustle isn't sacred. Exhaustion does not equate to obedience. God does not evaluate your faithfulness based on your level of exhaustion. His method of measurement includes alignment. Something is wrong if you are constantly depleted. Not in your profession, but in the manner in which you practice it. It is critical that you acknowledge this. The source isn't you. The vessel is you. You will burn out if you try to be the source yourself. Moses acquired this knowledge. Elijah acquired this knowledge. David acquired this knowledge. You are currently acquiring knowledge of it. Laziness is not synonymous with rest. Compliance is the essence of relaxation. God included rest in creation because He understands your limitations. Rest does not imply a departure from one's objectives. You are safeguarding it. Some of you feel remorse when you slow down. Please release your guilt. It does not come from God. Furthermore, it is critical to cultivate the ability to decline without explanation. Because of their sense of obligation to everyone, chosen individuals frequently go above and beyond their capabilities. However, resentment is the result of unrestricted responsibility. You were not called by God to be accessible to everyone. He summoned you to submit to His authority. You must also develop the ability to move at God's pace rather than your own emotions. Mistakes are unavoidable when excitement is the driving force. Pressure causes confusion. When obedience is prioritized, peace prevails. Discrimination is aided by tranquility. It allows God to rectify the situation before causing harm. Maintain genuine humility. It is important to remember that being chosen does not give you immunity to criticism. God corrects those in whom He is confident. When convicted, act quickly. Delayed obedience causes unnecessary struggle. Protect your innermost being. It is critical to consider the content you consume, the artists you listen to, and who you allow to influence your emotions. It is not necessary to consider each point of view. All voices do not have equal influence. Abandon the concept of comparison. There is nothing like your assignment. Your timing is deliberate. You will only be distracted by looking in the opposite direction. Focus on the future. God reveals the next step rather than the entire path. You are permitted to enjoy life because trust grows through movement. Joy does not diminish the calling. Laughter is not offensive to God. Rest, beauty, and connections. These items will replenish your energy. A strong spirit is a happy spirit. If you fall, try not to spiral downward. Repentance speeds up the process of realignment beyond the capacity of perfection. Your humanity doesn't surprise God. He is committed to your development. Finally, it is critical to maintain a relationship with God. Whatever your position, you are His child first and foremost. Calling remains viable when identity is prioritized. This route is taxing, but not harmful. God has not summoned you to give up your identity. He encourages you to become your true self, complete and harmonious. Take a deep breath and allow this truth to penetrate the deepest parts of your being. You are not imagining this call. You are not making this up. You are not attempting to imbue spiritual significance into insignificant life events in order to elevate your self-esteem. You are not late for your purpose. You are not beyond repair. You are not so confused that God cannot guide you. You are truly and authentically responding to something ancient, intentional, and divinely placed within you before you were even born. You walk in a sacred line that stretches back through history. Moses carried authority to confront systems and lead people out of bondage. Elijah carried truth to speak to power and call down heaven's fire. David carried intimacy with God that produced worship, warfare, and kingdom building. And you, chosen one, you carry a unique measure of all three for this specific time, in this specific world, in this specific generation. The blend is unique to you. The expression will look different than theirs, but the lineage is unmistakable. You were never meant to fit in with the crowd. You were never designed to blend seamlessly into the systems around you. You were meant to stand firm when others compromise. You were meant to speak the truth when others stayed silent. You were meant to hold the line when others retreat. You were never meant to rush frantically toward a destination. You were meant to align patiently with divine timing, trusting that every season serves a purpose. Everything you have endured up to this point shaped you. It did not shatter you. The pain refined you. It did not disqualify you. Every delay you experienced refined something in you that needed refining. Every closed door protected you from something that would have harmed you. Every quiet season when nothing seemed to be happening was actually preparing you for what is now beginning to unfold. God does not waste pain. He does not misplace His chosen ones. He does not awaken you to purpose without intention. and he certainly does not bring you this far to abandon you now. If this message resonated deeply with you, if you feel like these words were written specifically for your situation, it is because your spirit recognized its own reflection in this truth. This message did not reach you by accident or algorithm alone. It reached you because you were ready to hear it, because you needed to hear it, because God knew this was the right moment for these words to find you. Remember this as you move forward from here. You are protected by God Himself. You are guided by His Spirit. You are not walking this path alone, even when it feels lonely, even when no one around you understands, even when you cannot explain it to others. He is with you. His presence goes before you. His favor surrounds you. His angels guard you. His purposes will be fulfilled through you. You are not required to have everything figured out today. You do not need to see the entire path mapped out in front of you. You do not need to understand every detail of how this will all work out. You just need to stay obedient to what He shows you today. Stay humble enough to receive corrections. Stay grounded enough to avoid distraction. Stay focused enough to keep moving forward. God will handle everything else. He always has. He always will. Before you go, I want to ask you to do something. If this message genuinely confirmed what God has already been stirring in your heart, if it put words to something you have been feeling but could not articulate, then like this video. Subscribe to this channel so you do not miss future messages meant for you. Share it with other chosen ones in your life who need this same clarity and confirmation. You're aware of their identity. Someone came to mind while you were watching this. Send it to them. And one more time, comment 777 below. Not as some superstitious ritual, but as a simple declaration, a marker, a moment where you say yes to accepting your calling. Yes to trusting divine timing, even when it is confusing. And yes to staying aligned with the path God has set before you. Your comment also serves as encouragement to others, watching silently, who need to know they are not alone in this. Walk forward in peace. Not the absence of problems, but the presence of God in the middle of them. Walk with purpose. Not performing for applause, but obedient to assignment. God is with you every single step. This isn't the conclusion. This is just the beginning of what He wants to do in you and through you. Maintain your loyalty. Maintain your concentration. Maintain your alignment. The best is still ahead together. We ascend in the direction of the sun.